Officials with the Iowa Department of Transportation are seeing success after making changes to help prevent wrong-way driving and crashes.
Yeah, you saw it on the left side of the screen there. Council Bluffs is among the cities noticing positive impacts. First Alert 6's Sydney Babb reports.
One small camera at a Council Bluffs interchange is improving safety for every driver.
We have a wrong-way driver detection system that is cameras that are watching the interstates and the ramps and using machine vision and picking up where we're having cars going the wrong way, whether they're self-correcting and not becoming a wrong-way driver on the interstate.
Council Bluffs placed a camera at I-29 and North 16th Street after noticing patterns of confusion and cars either backing up off the ramp or continuing to go the wrong way.
We saw an immediate pattern of drivers who exited at North 16th Street but were intending to stay on I-29, and they would either back up or turn around and get back on I-29 and then turn around and go the right direction.
Take a look at this video. You can see a driver going the wrong way on a ramp. The detection system alerts local law enforcement to respond if the driver doesn't turn around. And if a driver continues to go the wrong way, there's also signage to alert other drivers.
If a wrong-way driver passes kind of the last checkpoint and we know that they're going to actually be getting on the interstate in the wrong way, that's when we will light up the overhead dynamic message signs and inform oncoming drivers. So that's happening concurrently with a law enforcement response.
According to IDOT, 60% of wrong-way drivers are under the influence. The other 40% are either elderly or confused, often because they're not from the area. Yates said that since the prevention system has been in place, cities across the state have seen improvements in traffic safety.
We know at our other places where we had a pattern of some wrong-way drivers, our countermeasures are very effective, and they're preventing people from becoming wrong-way drivers on the interstate.
Yates said they've had a 66% reduction in wrong-way activity since adding the advanced signing and arrows at the interchange in Council Bluffs. In Council Bluffs, I'm Sydney Babb, First Alert 6.
We asked Nebraska officials with the DOT if they have something similar in place, and they do not. They've also said they have no current plans to explore the technology as they don't have a high number of wrong-way incidents. However, as the technology improves, they will continue to monitor for its accuracy and benefits.